What we do here is go back.
Hey, how's it going, everyone, and welcome to episode 40 of the Lost Media podcast. Today we're talking about Fear Factor Lost Media. Remember that TV show Fear Factor that everyone grew up with, where people did disgusting and terrifying things, whether it's heights, whether it's creepy crawlies, or eating and drinking disgusting shit, or just being in a bed of, I think, they did some crazy ones. I remember the girl in like a bed of snakes or rats. Just a really messed up show. In Australia, we had Fear Factor Australia, and it was really short-lived, and I'm going to get to that in a second, but first I'm going to talk about the Fear Factor US Lost episode. A lot of episodes of Fear Factor US immediately after the show aired were lost, but then they uploaded all of them to the website Hulu, I'm pretty sure. Every single one except one that was still lost for many years until recently. And it was Fear Factor Spring Break Edition. Yeah, man. And it's filmed on location at like a beach somewhere. I don't know where those spring break locations are in the US, guys. I'm Australian. Florida, San Diego. It's filmed on location on the beach, and it's obviously, as you can imagine, the most cliche thing ever. Hosted by Joe Rogan, of course, who we all know does the Joe Rogan Experience now. But that was found recently. Someone who's a collector of different shows and who had a lot of Fear Factor episodes uploaded that to YouTube. So after many years, that being the only Fear Factor episode that had just mysteriously gone missing. We're not sure why it wasn't uploaded to Hulu with all the other Fear Factor episodes from all the seasons. I don't know. Maybe there was some sort of issue with contestants or something. I have no idea. I'm just making shit up. It is. It's very mysterious though that episode was not posted or just forgotten about and was never able to be found. But the episode has been recovered. It is a television recorded episode in like VHS quality, but it's the episode. I mean, we've got the episode, so that's something. And every single Fear Factor US episode, that means it has been recovered. There's not much really to it. It's just, yeah, as I said, takes place on a beach. Everyone's in their Speedos and bikinis and is just kind of drinking disgusting stuff and doing disgusting challenges, all on the location of like a spring break beach, spring break location. Yeah, it's something that it's another one of those pieces of lost media that no one was really looking for, but people who were looking for it wanted it badly and realized there's only one episode missing, so we got to find it. Let's find the episode. I'm looking at all sorts of Fear Factor lost media though today, mainly from the US and the Australian version. In fact, only from the US and the Australian version. That is something that was found recently. However, there is a little bit of an iceberg. It's not much of an iceberg. I'd call it more like an ice block for the show Fear Factor. Oh my God, spitting everywhere. Which is why I thought it would be an interesting thing to talk about in the Lost Media podcast. Because there was also another episode of Fear Factor US that was believed to be never aired, and it was aired, but it was believed to be banned. Fear Factor. Ooh, when I was a kid, I thought, oh, this is banned Fear Factor. The contestants drinking donkey urine and donkey semen. And some contestants don't make it through to the next round, but they still drank that shit. This was aired, I'm pretty sure, and this was included in an episode, although this was almost beyond the limits of what they couldn't allow on the show. There's some really interesting challenges that Joe Rogan talks about actually on his podcast in some clips where they were gonna do it, but it was like, no, that's too far. But I don't think those were recorded. I don't think they're lost media. There'd definitely be clips from the show Fear Factor and maybe a couple of episodes that are still lost that were never aired. They do that with a lot of reality TV shows and game shows and all sorts of stuff. But we don't know about those. I can only talk about the ones I know. But all I know is when I was like 12, 11, people would title their videos with the semen and, oh God, I'm saying the urine donkey urine, donkey semen episode. Sorry to say it again, it's disgusting. And they'd say unaired Fear Factor, DVD edition only. And I'd just be like, are you sure? And then I found out that it was actually aired. It was just presumed to be a lost episode by the fans who like pretending stuff that's lost was actually not lost. But that's a very eerie piece of Fear Factor history. I think that's one of the more disgusting things that ever was on that show. But in Fear Factor Australia, there was a lot of interesting developments in terms of episodes never airing. So this is a fascinating thing from my perspective. The show aired in 2002, so it's not that long after the first season of Fear Factor US was really successful, and Australia's just like, oh, we gotta match the success of Fear Factor US. Of course they have to. This is what they do with everything. It's not always successful there, especially when it's a game show type from the US, when we're trying to mimic that. 3 episodes of Fear Factor Australia went to air on the Nine Network back in 2002. And in the credits for the 3rd episode, you're just watching at home, you're sitting there, and a voiceover goes, "That was the final Fear Factor in this series." What? Huh? That's it? 3 episodes? That can't be right. And then it was cancelled. That was it. It was actually cancelled. That wasn't the final episode. They just were rating so poorly for this show. It was getting the worst television ratings you could get. And it's surprising to see a show that was so successful in the US that so many people remember the US version of Fear Factor, and the Australian version bombs that hard. I think it was one of those things where Australian audiences just weren't ready for that yet. Guess you guys aren't ready for that yet. Your kids are going to love it. Oh, God. It was one of those things, though, because I watched it when I was a kid. Reruns that were uploaded to YouTube, which is the next thing I'm getting to, and I loved it. So my neighbor, who lives just like 6 doors up from me here, she was a contestant on episode 4 of Australian Fear Factor. And I think she just forgot about the whole experience because she didn't really care. She wasn't hanging out for it to be aired on TV. I think she was just like, yeah, I tried my best, but it's already been filmed and it's over. She was a contestant on episode 4, never went to air in Australia, was cancelled the week before, and she won the show. So she went back to the Fear Factor Grand Final show, and she lost at the very end of the show. Why do I know this? Because despite only 3 episodes being aired on Australian TV, all 7 episodes were uploaded in 2009 by a channel, Endemol Beyond, which I'm guessing is the production company in charge that owns the rights to Fear Factor worldwide. And they grabbed hold of all the episodes and posted them all on YouTube for everyone to see, and they've been there ever since. This has never been lost media for me, but between the years 2002 and 2009, anyone who wanted to watch all those unaired episodes of Fear Factor Australia couldn't. There's theories, I guess, from people that watched the show that it was aired late at night. The rest of the series was just dumped on a late time slot on the Nine Network. They used to do that when a show was cancelled from its regular time slot. But I don't think there's no way of knowing because on the Wikipedia page it does say that it was cancelled on the 3rd episode. A fun fact about the reason why I know that this voiceover says it at the end of the 3rd episode, because he doesn't say it in the version on YouTube, the one that's been there since 2009. Someone sent me the original airing of that 3rd episode and the cancellation announcement in the credits, which is lit. Very, very cool. To have an original airing of such an obscure and poor, a show that got seriously shit ratings, and someone actually recorded it off television. Even though this was already on YouTube, I was like, this is so cool that this person sent this to me because it's that original airing. And I used to be a huge fan of the Australian Fear Factor, even though there's 7 episodes. Anything that was an American franchise that became Australian, I was just a massive fan of it. I was a huge fan. But when it came to the person that was up the road, they just didn't hunt for contestants that much, as far as I'm guessing, because her, I think, husband's brother, or boyfriend's brother, was also on the show and was eliminated first in the following episode. So they were just finding contestants through other contestants. That's how they were doing it, because I'm guessing they didn't do a proper contestant call out. Or they did a contestant call out and nobody was that, invested. So it's just this weird case of... But I feel bad for her because the show never went to air. She never saw it for many years, and she kind of forgot about it, didn't really care, which is weird. And then it got uploaded to YouTube, and I actually my dad texted her and said, "Hey, Sam's found the episodes of you on Fear Factor." I was like 12, and she was fucking embarrassed. She was so embarrassed that these were on YouTube and that I had found them. Yeah, very, very funny. Very, very funny. Yeah, I feel bad for her. Oh, it's um, good sport though. She was nice about it when I found out that she was on this show, and it was embarrassing for her. But a fun fact about this: when she saw it on YouTube, when I directed her towards her episode being on YouTube, she saw the whole thing and saw in the end credits that she won prizes. She previously had no idea that she won anything for winning that first episode. She won $6,000 worth of television and camera equipment, and she was like, "What the fuck? I won something for doing this? They never told me that." So the slimy people who made Fear Factor Australia, they were like, "Oh, unless they saw the first 3 episodes, the contestants who won episodes 4 or 5 and 6, let's not even tell them they won anything. Let's just leave it. And if they text us, we'll give them if they message us, and contact us back then, letter in the mail back then, we'll give them the prizes. But if they don't, seriously could have been sued their asses off for making a unsuccessful show. Even they could have been sued badly. I feel like I'm gonna do an Andy Kaufman bit. I will sue you. I will sue you for all you have. Oh my god. So that was a funny meme. And after several years, when she contacted them, they were like, "Oh shit, okay, here you go," and they sent her the $6,000. Worth by then. This is like 8 or 9 years later. I think she got it 15 years later. Even I think she couldn't get in contact with them for a while, or she just forgot to. And 15 years later, these prizes that were worth $6,000 back then, this TV and DV cam, professional video camera back then, they're worth like $300 or $200 by 2015, 2016, or maybe even less because it's a CRT TV. It's shocking prizes. So they just gave her the $6,000. Very, very funny. The person who won the show never saw it. So what happened was these were aired overseas on different networks as reruns. And people told me this because they said, "Oh, I've seen it aired overseas in 2011, I think it says on the Fear Factor Australia Wikipedia." By the way, Wikipedia, not a very reliable source, but it was aired on some show in Canada or Japan or something. And that was where they reached their run. But by then, they're already on YouTube. I'm pretty sure it was 2011, they're all aired. So I'm pretty sure the first sights of those episodes 4, 5, 6, and 7 were by 2009. So for bloody 7 years, the whole show is lost virtually. Most of the show. If you're wondering why I said, what about the people who won episode 4, 5, and 6? Well, they got the winners of the first 6 episodes. They won $6,000, and then the winner of the 7th episode gets the $50,000. So because it's Australia and not the US, we can't give away $50,000 per episode because Australia's a little tiny media industry, very small. We're not like the US, so we gave away $50,000 for the winner of the whole series. And the show failed so poorly, so I don't even think they would have made $50,000 for their troubles, which is pretty fucking hilarious. Or maybe they would have just broken even for those 3 episodes that rated poorly. Because the ratings that they got back then are equivalent to a show that rates actually quite well today, because no one watches television in Australia anymore. But that's the Fear Factor little Ice Cube, iced tea. That's all there really is. It's more like an iced tea, actually. There's not many Fear Factor lost moments, but the Australian version is really fascinating to me, and I might talk more about it in a future episode or a future lost media video. All I remember is the contestant, the girl that we know up the road, that was the winner of the episode 4 and was on episode 7 as a grand finalist. I think she came 3rd or 4th. Or I actually think she came 2nd, actually. I think she was the runner-up of the whole series. What happened there was she, or 3rd, I think. You know, she said the host was really, really bad. He was not a Joe Rogan type. He was a terrible host. He kept stuffing up his lines. They probably just found him out of a casting call of like, "Oh, I'm from a modeling agency," because the guy is actually a model. So Anyway, yeah, very weird. But that's Fear Factor. That's the iceberg. This is going way longer than it should have. That's another Lost Media podcast, episode 40. We are 40 episodes into this podcast. Keep supporting the podcast, guys. I'm gonna keep making as many as I can. I'm gonna try and probably lessen the amount of podcasts after a few weeks. In a few weeks' time. Or maybe in like 4 weeks' time, I'm going to make much less. I probably won't make daily ones or weekday podcasts, only because a podcast, people click on it and the retention is awful. People will watch a minute of it and they'll stop watching. And the way the algorithm works, I think you guys might know this, but it recommends a video more and more depending on how long everyone's been watching the video for each person who clicks on it. That's why my videos are staying on like 600 views and not going any higher. Because I need to make properly edited videos so people can actually get invested and interested more in my content and not just sit and watch me talk to a camera in a podcast. So this is a good staple for me, though, starting the YouTube channel, but I'm going to make a lot more audio commentaries in the not too distant and kind of distant future. I'm going to mix it up a bit. We're going to see how we go. Yes. Thanks for watching, guys. The end.